the 7 angels which are the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great awe that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in a hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but received power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where they all seated, are peoples, and multitudes, and tongues, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall eat the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. We're thankful for the reading of his word. You may be seated. Hallelujah. Okay, so we want to continue looking at, in the spirit of the period that we are in, and the beginning of the papacy of Pope Leo the 14th, and we just want to look at Mystery Babylon. Mystery Babylon, our heads and our horns. Mystery Babylon, our heads, or Mystery Babylon upon our heads and horns. Mystery Babylon upon the heads and the horns of the beast. Mystery Babylon, upon the heads and the horns of the beast. Okay, I'm not sure we can go into the subject directly this evening, but I would want us to maybe read some other quotes of the prophet. I appreciated the quotes that Brother Elijah sent, and we made a post that I also shared on the ministers group, and to think that our teaching, wherein we have said that what happened last week about the emergence of an American Pope does not fulfill any prophecy that Brother Branham gave. And all the ministers in the forum, they all disagreed with me. But that's to tell you the solo stand that we take. Solo stand that we take. All of them decided. None of them agreed with me. In fact, one of them said I should be humble. I said, I'm not arguing. I don't know what humility means. Is humility to say, okay, you guys are right and I'm wrong? Is that humility? And some of these guys are very, very, very drastic that when you disagree with them, they can remove you from the group. That's how drastic they are. They don't want anybody to say something different. In fact, one of them brought up a quote that was kind of inferring that I'm a man of sin. I think in the quote, Brother Branham said, the man of sin will not, when a prophet has spoken. He said, when a prophet has spoken, and you are trying to say something different. And I wondered, am I saying anything different? I'm not saying anything different. I may be saying something that is probably different from their interpretation. Is that right? But I'm not saying anything different from what the prophet said. Okay, this is the quote the brother gave. God is his own interpreter. The 5th of February, 1964. God is his own interpreter. 5th of February, 1964. I know what I find out with some people. You have some people who are so emotional. And most of them don't know how to discuss. They don't know how to bring their own points. And so what they look for is to bring a quote that will intimidate you or to try to shut you down. The quote has nothing to do with the discussion, but they just bring the quote so that you will quiet. This is why you see me, I don't like to post. You know, I was posting a lot on Facebook. At the time I stopped because I'm tired of arguments. You know, I'm just tired of arguments. So what I do is we put our video there. If you want to listen, you go and listen. But I'm not going to have the time to be, I don't have that energy. I feel it's throwing pears before swine. That's what I feel because they don't understand what we're saying. So this is the quote the guy said. He just posted this quote and just kept quiet. He didn't say anything again. So it's only has thrown a bomb. So he said, who is the sinful man? So I believe I'm the sinful man because I said something that is not in line with the. So so when I see that one, I should shut up. Don't talk again. Who is the sinful man that would try to say, when God made a promise and God does it, that interpretation is wrong? That's God himself doing his own interpretation, interpreting. He don't need anybody to interpret him. He interprets himself by manifesting what he promised that he would do. That's where he stopped. So what he was trying to infer is that I am trying to say that interpretation is wrong. So where is the interpretation that I'm saying is wrong? I am saying their interpretation is wrong. I'm not saying Brother Branham's interpretation is wrong. To them, they will tell you that interpretation is the fulfillment. Is that right? So to them, when the prophet said in 1954, when this new pope is brought up out of the United States and put over there, to them, that does not need any what? Interpretation. That it is as clear as it is. To them, brought out of the United States means citizen of the United States. But I can tell you that interpretation that you are giving is your own interpretation. I can tell you that's your own interpretation. The prophet did not say a United States Pope. He said a Pope brought out of the United States can mean anything. Is that right? But what this brother that posted this is trying to say is that as long as this American has been made Pope, that's the interpretation is the fulfillment. That is the interpretation of that 1954 quote. Are you listening? So to them, don't say anything again. Leave it like that. If you are saying something else, you are a sinful man. He said God himself doing his own interpretation. He don't need anybody to interpret him. He interprets himself by manifesting what he promised. Now these are people we call, what do you call them? Fundamentalists. I call them fundamentalists. They are what we call textual. They are textual. To them is, don't say anything else. But I love the question that one minister asked. I saw it on Facebook. And I went to post what we made on the church group. I gave it to him. He was thanking me a lot. Because he asked the question. Let's go to that 1954 quote. Okay, this is it. He said, I believe one of these glorious days when this united confederation of church goes together and the new pope is brought out of the United States and put over there according to prophecy. The brother was asking, what is that prophecy? Which is a very important question. What is that word? We need to know that. If we know that prophecy, we can know what it's referring to. Nobody was able to answer the question. Huh? What is the prophecy? But today we discover that the prophecy is a 1933 prophecy. A 1933 prophecy. Let's go to the message Shalom. Now we don't have the exact prophecy, but we see where Brother Branham was referring to a prophecy he gave in 1933. So if we need to understand this 1954 quote, is that if there's any degree of ambiguity and we need to resolve whatever issue we have about it, then let's see where Brother Branham would have spoken about that prophecy. Because the prophecy is where everything is predicated on. So we need to go see at least what he also said about that prophecy. Now in the message Shalom, in 19th of January 1963. So paragraph 33, this is what Brother Branham said. I want us to be greatly established. Anybody who reads that 1954 quote, unless you are emotional and you are biased, it never said anywhere that this Pope is an American Pope. In that prophecy, it never said anywhere American Pope. It never said anywhere United States Pope. It said when this Pope is brought up out of the United States and placed over there. So we need to understand the thinking of this prophet, because it may have a connotative meaning to it. So we need to know the context from which he was speaking. Do you agree with that? Okay, now, he said, paragraph 33, the message Shalom, 19th of January. Brother Branham said, but speaking here in 1933 of the Pope taking his place out of, or coming out, rather, of Rome. Do you see similarity? Can you see the word come out of? And you know Brother Branham, the way he is with words. If you cannot read very well, you don't understand what he's talking about. Huh? How many times have you've been preaching? You say something, you think you knew what he said. Until you listen to the audio, you discover that what you meant to say is not what you said. And you went on talking without knowing that you said something that is different from what is in your thought. I listen to my tape, I see it many times, and sometimes I get shocked. I thought I said what I wanted to say, but I said something else. And we saw it many times in Brother Branham. Have we talked about it here? So that's why you can't take a quote in isolation. You can't take a quote in isolation. You need others. In fact, in order to establish something, you need two or what? 3 witnesses. That's a rule in the scripture. 2 or 3 what? Witnesses. So we need to see another one. So that minister that asked that question was right, but nobody could answer it. I went to his timeline. In fact, it took me a long time to find it because he posted a lot of things. And he was thanking, he was so appreciative of it. Because he was asking, where is this prophecy that they were talking about? So we see Brother Branham speaking of it. It's a 1933 prophecy. So he said here, he said of the Pope taking his place out of or coming out rather of Rome. You know, when you saw this and you posted, you thought, oh, this will resolve the question. But people are so, they love the fact that to them they can point to something. An American Pope has come. We are not emotional. We must understand what we're doing. I asked them a question. Brother Branham said so many things will happen after that Pope comes. Have they not happened? One of them said, well, it's an ongoing thing. I said, what do you mean by ongoing? He didn't say that the things will be ongoing before the Pope comes. He said, when that Pope comes, then these things will happen. You are telling me that the things are ongoing before the Pope comes. Is that the way we read? And sometimes when you try to ask questions the way I'm asking now, they will say you are disrespectful. They will say you are disrespectful. He said when that Pope comes out, there are certain things will happen. You are telling me that those things, they are progressive, they are happening, and then you tell me in 2025 the Pope comes, the one you are talking of. And we have had more than 60 years of those things happening. What are you talking? Are we kids? This is why people make mockery of the message, because it's in the hands of these fundamentalists. That's why they make mockery of it, because these guys are just, I don't know what we call it, you can call fanatics. Fanatics. Maybe even more holier than when somebody makes a term, this guy is more holier than the Pope. And they said, you cannot be holier than the Pope. You can't be more Catholic than the Pope. You cannot be more Branham than Branham himself. You cannot be more Branham than the Branham himself. Let's read. He said, of the Pope taking his place out of, or coming out rather, of Rome, and making a visit to the Holy Lands. He will also come here. Where is here? United States. Now, this Pope, he went to the Holy Land in 1964. We've talked about it here. As he arrived, there was eclipse. In January 4th, 1964, he went to the Holy Land. He was made Pope around the middle of 1963, when Pope John the 23rd died. He became Pope. Then, about 6 months later, he went to the Holy Land. And we've spoken about it with all the quotes of the prophet. Then, October 4th, 1965, the next year, he now went to the United States. This is when Brother Branham, so this was in 1964. Brother Branham said he will come here. So in 1964, he was saying, this was 19th of January, about 2 weeks after he arrived in Jerusalem. Then, in now, 2 weeks later, the prophet was speaking about his arrival in Jerusalem and saying he will come here. Then, October 4th, the next year, 1965, more than 1.5 years later, he came to the United States. And he spent 14 hours in the United States and left. And I have told you that he was the first pope. As at January 1964, he was the first pope to leave Italy. For more than 150 years, no pope has left Italy. No pope has left Italy. And he was the first pope to ever enter an aeroplane. The first pope to enter an aeroplane. This was the beginning of ecumenism. What was the movement for? To unite everything. Bring all the church together in a confederacy. And people cannot see the significance of it. You are telling us about a pope that comes in 2025 when we don't even know whether the pope is existing. I can tell you that you can spend the next 3 years, you will not even know whether this man is in St. Peter's Basilica. Doing nothing. They almost do. I mean, let us look at it. Look at, somebody asked me a question one time. Say, what is the effect of the pope? You don't know whether they're even doing anything. I'm trying to be practical. Let us look at Francis. For his 12 years of papacy, the only significant thing I knew he did was the fact that he was talking about gay coming in, homosexuals, if they could do abortions. But apart from that, I don't see any, it looked like he's powerless. And Revelation 13 tells us why that is the case. He said the United States will exercise the powers. So you will not see the Pope exercising any significant power. To some people who are not like us, they will tell you what is the purpose of a Pope. That they don't know what he's doing. That he just does enjoying or whatever, or just carrying some master and whatever. You don't even know what he's doing. We are talking about our time when we see less movement. Is that right? Less movement in the Vatican. We don't see it very obvious. We don't see it very obvious. And this gives credence to what we said that will happen in Revelation 16 under the sixth plague. It said that when the kings of the east marching, it means there will be somebody behind the scene that will be doing the control. Do you understand what I'm saying? What was the last time you heard about a pope that had so much pageantry? Was not Pope John Paul. That's the one that was almost assassinated, the escape assassination. You remember him? Before him, the previous pope spent 3 days and was killed. He came in, they almost killed him. They had to do a blood transfusion that caused him to be shaken like this, whether papacy or whatever, for the remainder of his life. But he has the most celebrated papacy. From that time, we don't even know what those guys are doing there. Imagine Benedict, what was he doing? This guy will come, kiss babies on the street and put sign like this, and see whenever his papacy ends, nothing will happen. That's what they do. They will just come, kiss babies, talk some words, talk to the leaders of the world, let there be peace. And sometimes you will wonder, when they are saying let there be peace, you ask yourself, why is it that nobody appears to be listening to him? Because the people continue to do what they like. Could you imagine that Pope, what's his name, Donald Trump, the first time he was president, he spoke to Francis. He said, mind your business. Be the Pope, let me do my job in the United States. Don't tell me what to do. Would you have said that to a Pope 200 years ago? Would a president 200 years ago talk that to a Pope? You will remove you very fast. In fact, fear will make you not to do that. But people can do it now. Why? Because of it's so covert. And we have people are not studying the times. They are saying, oh, when this guy comes, there will be great persecution. The prophet said, he will also what? Come here. And the strange thing is, a few nights before he left Rome, for the first time it ever was in history, the moon came down and went in total eclipse. This is a significant pope that is telling you about. Pope Paul the VI. That's the one we're talking about. This is the guy. This is the guy that changed history. This is the one that was greatly significant. Brother Branham said, just that, what was it? Shadowing off the reflected light of the sun. In this, he spoke to the Orthodox father, and they are all in what? Agreement. The Pope does this for what? Fellowship. Good neighborly fellowship. Which sounds to the natural ear, the most wonderful thing could happen. But to the spiritual ear, it's what? Darkness. And now that we churches, we Presbyterian, can you see the same thing he listed in 1954? Presbyterian, Methodist, Baptist, and Pentecostal could ever join into such a mess as that. And knowing our Bible teaches us different. It's a marvelous thing to me that our spirit-filled man can set in places and say it feels spiritual to be in such a place. To me, it's horrible. It's horrible. Are we catching it? Sometimes those we look up to for understanding. Please go to paragraph 83 of this same message. The same message, Shalom. Okay. Brother Branham said darkness, great denominations, and a great group of men get together and set their ideas about it. And that throws you right back into a twist like there was at the beginning. No hopes at all in that case. You're simply gone. And all of them just seem to be so stirred up about these friendly churches. Think if God will be with them. Well, the millennium is going to start when the council all gets together up there. That's their own teaching of the millennium. That once the council is done, millennium will start. When the millennium is going to start when the council all gets together up there and all the ecumenical moves and so forth, and they join in. What they doing? Making an image unto what? The beast. So when was that? That was the council. You know, I tried to tell them about the council. Some of these guys, they don't even know what is Vatican Council. Most of them don't even know the significance of it. They don't even know. We can spend 1 month, more than 1 month talking about Vatican Council too. But these guys have no idea. They don't even know what that council enabled or what was the significance of it. They don't. People are talking about making a prophet said the image was made in that council. And that was what we see in the 1954 quote. It said the image will be what? Made. When that pope, the new pope. And that 1954 quote, the person you had almost in 1958, Pope John. Pope John the 23rd became pope. Became pope. Is that right? Now, he died in 1963. And then Pope Paul now became what? Now became pope. Of course, before John died, in 1962, the council had started. The council ended under the papacy of Paul, the sixth. Are you seeing that? So the new pope, Brother Branham was looking at, this man did not fulfill it, because this man came in 1958. This man came in 1963. Brother Branham spoke that in 1954. There was a pope at that time. And then he was talking about the new pope. This man did not fulfill it because this man maybe was not courageous enough to leave leave Italy. But it was Paul. And Paul, the sixth, fit it. Brother Branham said he shows the name Paul, an impostor of the great apostle Paul. He said number 6 is the number of what? A man. So this was the new pope Brother Branham was referring to. It was prophetic. You know, when he gave the prophecy in 1933, he was looking at the time, studying it. How close are we to it? Okay? Now, he said, making an image unto the beast, a power that where all the undenominationals and so forth that won't join in with them will be shut out. Just watch and see if that happens. And that's true. What does it mean to be shut out? We feel that to be shut out means maybe they will arrest you. To be shut out means that you will not get certain privileges you would not ordinarily get if you are in league with them. It's mostly economic. That's the boycott or the boycott. It's mostly economic. You cannot get what you will ordinarily get if you are in unionism with them. Just like if you have a workers' union. If you are not a member, you don't get certain benefits. And so that will become a reason why you should be what? A member. Just watch and see if that happens. I've got it wrote down here the way the Lord let me see that where? In 1933. And here it is, just exactly the way it said, just coming the same way, how the Pope would leave Rome, and so forth. And people are talking about, may the Lord help us. I believe that if you went through Brother Branham's quote, this is the Pope he spoke more about. All his message. He did not call many popes. He didn't call their name, but he called this one, his name, too many times if you did the search. And this was the one that left Rome. I told you 150 years, no one had left. But he was the first to leave. And it means that that prophecy referred to in 1954 is the same prophecy he's talking about. It's the same prophecy. What was the prophecy? The Pope will leave Rome. It will come to where? The United States. So that statement, when this new Pope is brought out of the United States and placed over there, is what? Pope Paul the Sixth. Remember, Brother Branham said when he came, he said he walked 13 steps. You remember what he said that? Now let's go to Church Age book. In the exposition of the 7 church ages, Laodicean church age, Brother Branham said, in part of the 7th age, it was still growing. So what Brother Branham is referring to is that the seventh circle there. I hope you can see it. That 7th circle. So Brother Branham said the darkness was growing. He said all of a sudden, the darkness was to consume the old age, the old circle. He said it suddenly what? Stopped. In part of the 7th age, it was still growing when suddenly it stopped short and warmed and waned to almost a nothingness. So that instead of light, it was blackness of what? Apostasy. And at the end of the age, it had ceased to shine, for darkness has what? Taken over. Now, look at it. If you see something in that circle, notice. Look at from Ephesus. It was much light and little darkness. Is that right? The darkness was increasing until it went to Thyatira. It almost covered the whole circle. Then in Sardis, it tipped this way. Can you see that? In Sardis. And then when it went to Philadelphia, it grew light. More light in Philadelphia. When it got to Laodicea, it grew more light. All of a sudden, darkness started taking over again. That's what Brother Branham is saying. Do you see it there? You would have felt that the light would have continued. Philadelphia, more light. Laodicea, more light. But all of a sudden, darkness came upon Laodicea again. Are you seeing that? So that's what the prophet is saying. He said, it has ceased to shine, for darkness had taken over. Christ was now outside the church. Here is the sign in the sky. So he's talking about as the Pope was entering Jerusalem, the sign in the sky. The last eclipse of the moon was a what? Total eclipse. It waned to a total darkness in 7 stages. That's what you see, 7 stages. In the 7th stage, the total darkness came as the Pope of Rome, Paul VI, went to Palestine to make a holy tour of Jerusalem. He was the first Pope to ever go to Jerusalem. The Pope is named Paul VI. Paul was the first messenger, and this man goes by that name. Notice, it is the 6th of the number of man. This is more than a coincidence. And when he went to Jerusalem, the moon or the church, the moon speaks of the church, is that right? The moon or the church went into total darkness. This is it. This is the end. So Brother Branham is saying in 1964, when this Pope went to Jerusalem, he said, this is what? The end. This is the end. This generation shall not pass away until all be fulfilled. Even so, Lord Jesus, come quickly. Does it make sense? Then we're talking about one Pope that came some weeks ago. I love to talk to people who are very, very, at least they watch things very well. Tell us what it will do. What new thing will it do in that 1954 prophecy that has not been done? What new thing will it do? That's why many of them are expecting that one day they will come and be looking for those who are carrying sermon book. They'll come and be looking for those who have Brother Branham pillar. I don't know how they're going to do it, but that's what most of them are waiting for. I asked somebody some years ago why they wouldn't get registered even with the Corporate Affairs Commission. He says so that they will not catch them. I don't understand. This, you see, your wrong belief can make you be acting like somebody who doesn't even understand the times. Corporate Affairs Commission, to register with them is, I don't understand. Do you think that when we register with them, they even know what we're doing here? You think they have time? It's that we don't know the kind of people who are ruling our world. But we thank God for light. We thank God for light. Let's go to the message, third Exodus. Third Exodus, 30th of June 1963. In the morning, the third Exodus. Paragraph 108. Brother Branham said she appears in Revelation 13, number 13. Are we learning something? Yeah. You can understand what the prophet is talking about. People just carry one quote and take it. In fact, it's not that they carry one quote. They took one sentence in isolation. When this new pope come out of the United States and is placed over there, what is the meaning of that statement? Who placed him there? Some people are now, I saw a brother shared, a very respected matured minister shared a document where they put Donald Trump picture and Pope Leo's picture, and they said the two of them will work together. They are the two powerful men in the world. They will work together. Were the president of the United States and the Pope not always working together? Huh? They were always working together. When John F. Kennedy was president, which was the first Roman Catholic Pope, you remember? And then you had the Pope at that time. They worked together. Is that right? They worked together. So people are just coming up with different things. Now, Brother Brown says she appears in Revelation 13, number 13. And remember, it's raised up like a lamb, the United States, freedom of religion. But then it received power from the beast, an image like it. And it spoke with all the authority and done the same rotten things the beast did before him. Who did these things now? United States. Did all the rotten things that the Roman Empire did before him. Then tell me it's not prophesied of this nation. The Amorite condition is just about right because they are already walking in it. And even our new pope, notice the date of this message. The date is June. Some weeks earlier, that was when Pope Paul became pope. Some couple of days earlier before this message. That's when they made Pope John Paul the sixth pope. So Brother Branham said, and even our new pope, his main purpose is to unite the brethren together. When this new pope is brought up, and he's talking about our new pope, is that right? His main purpose is to unite the brethren together. And to the natural eye, it's a thing to do. Huh? It's a nice thing, unity. It's a thing to do. But in the eyes of God, it's contrary to the Holy Spirit. We can't mix up with that. And every church will be called into that federation. Get out of that thing as quick as you can. You will take the mark of the beast, not knowing what you are doing. Get out of it. So that was his admonition. Come out. And we hear somebody saying, oh, the image will not be made now, and they will start demanding from the mark. What were they demanding ever since? What mark are you talking about? How do you demand the mark? How do you demand the mark? The Bible says you cannot buy, you cannot sell. So it means that to demand the mark, it has to be what? Economic. Is it clear? That's what Revelation 13 said. Without the mark, you cannot buy, you cannot sell. So how will economic pressure be placed on you? And we're talking about joining a church system. It means if you are not a member of the church, that's what it means to have the mark of the beast in your what? In your right hand. by being a member of that church. What church? A church that is not within the message cycle. Not just a message cycle church. A church that is not in the rapture. As long, you saw the quote we read on Sunday, Brother Branham said they will reject this message and they will rather go into that confederacy. So how do you go into it? Simple. You are in the church system. How do you go into it? You believe what? False doctrine. These are the two ways. So it means that if I will compromise in order to get economic benefit, and the only way to compromise is to join a church, I have taken the mark in my forehead. And the reason was because it was demanded. That the only way you can get this economic benefit is if you what? Join our church or you believe our doctrine. I know a lot of people who did not join a church. They remain as minister of their church, but all they needed to do was to abandon their correct doctrine. Believe a wrong one in order to go get what? Economic benefit. I was telling you about a brother that we were friends many years ago. He had not, just a little minister underneath a pastor. And he has grown so big now. He left that country, went to another country, became a pastor there, came back to his country, became a pastor. Big church, they do international convention. We were friends on the internet. And somebody who was just a normal person, but now he has blown. Why? Because he bowed down to the wrong doctrines. Yesterday, after a long while, he responded to my chat. And he told me, he said, do you still believe in... He told me that he's currently in Australia. He's currently in a mission trip in Australia. I'm older than him, well older than him. He's currently in a mission trip in Australia, and from there we go to Singapore before we go back to his country. And then he asked me a question, do you still believe in polygamy? I say, yes. I said, I know you will ask. He said, well, that's the last thing we discussed before we parted ways. Now, notice something. Because of what he has subscribed to, for sure, if you subscribe to those things, a lot of benefits will come. Now, if, for example, I am under pressure, I can denounce I can denounce what I believe. I say, me, I don't believe that thing again. I can say, me, is it me? I don't believe that thing again. Forget about that stuff. We were deceived. I was deceived that time. And the carnal man may feel in doing so, he may now give you some what? Some connection. Do you understand? And with those connections, some economic benefit will come. This is how the pressure, this is how the demand comes. Don't think that one person will carry gun and be demanding. This is the way it comes. Brother Branham said that is very inviting. The same proposition that Eve faced in the garden. You will not surely die. Huh? That what does it? We're still following the prophet now. You know what? You know the recent thing they are telling you now? Let's forget our differences. Persecution will bring us together. That's the one that says persecution. Now, let me say this. If that is true, there will be no reason to fight for any doctrinal stand. There will be no reason. Because after all the fight, persecution will bring us what? Together. So what are we fighting? They'll tell you, oh God, forget all this things you are talking about. Maybe when you say, look at you, not be you they show yourself saying that you know past now, not be you be this now. You say, forget, I was deceived. Why? Because of money. And somebody is telling us that persecution will drive us together. So if that's the case, then let's forget about all this fight. All these things we are defending. But Brother Brown was clear. Jannes and Jambres will arise. And they will withstand the truth. That must be fulfilled. I'm not going to listen to any seductive gospel. No. I'm not going to subscribe to that. Don't worry, we'll all come together. What's the need for us to fight? Let's just, don't worry. What's the need? Whether you believe 2 souls or you believe 1 soul, or whether you believe polygamy or whatever, don't worry. Persecution will bring us together. That's what they are effectively telling you, that once you believe in Brother Brown, you will make the rapture. But is that the case? That's not the case. That's not the case. This is not a denomination. That's what the Pope has promised his followers. Live whatever life you like. Anytime you make little mistake, come tell the priest. Huh? Don't worry, you will make it, but we don't believe that. We believe you must pass the word test. Everyone has to come to Kadesh Barnea. Nothing like any persecution. Persecution will only drive the true elect together. Because if you are a true elect and one message church persecuted you, it will make you see reason to connect and be more close to those who believe like you. That is how persecution drives us together. Drive those who have the word together. Not to bring a feast of Bapoe. Huh? Because what they are advocating for is a feast of Bapoe. Are we getting the point? So, let's read some other quotes. Okay. I don't want to waste our time. Let's now go to what we're looking at here. So we read from Revelation chapter 17. I believe we can adequately defend what we're talking about. It's so clear, it's so clear. Pope John Paul already fulfilled it, and like we did in our last two services, we know the mission of this Pope. And any Pope that would ever come, because Francis already was the harbinger of the move that is happening now, which is what? The reforms. The Catholic Church has to be reformed. And Brother Branham spoke about this excellently. Anointed ones at this end time, Feast of the Trumpet, that the ecclesiastical veil covering the Roman Catholic Church has to go. Because what is that veil? It's all this conservativeness now. Don't commit abortion. Priest not to marry. Anybody who tells me priest not to marry looks like a very nice thing. Oh, Paul did not marry now, right? Apostle Paul did not marry. And he advocated celibacy greatly in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. That he, in fact, speaking about a sister, he said a sister that is married or a brother that is married, he cannot commit only to God because he will be distracted by the responsibilities of what? Of marriage. So Paul was actually advocating that you should not marry. That is better that if you are married, you cannot serve God as effectively as somebody who is unmarried. That was advocacy. But the same Paul in verse 1 showed us there is a problem. That marriage is one of the ways to avoid fornication. He said at least you have your own wife. At least you have your own husband. Is that right? Once loss comes, you have your husband and your wife to go and attend fellowship with. Are you listening? In fact, Paul not even went to tell Timothy that in the last day they will be forbidding men to marry. That's one of the signs. They will be forbidding men to marry, which is what we see in the Roman Catholic Church. And that's why the priest, to show that they are not divine, they are humans, we see them going into all kind of funny things. Sleeping with young boys. Homosexualism. Have we not seen it? What was the great scandal that caused Benedict to leave? Was it not because of the things that were revealed? There were even male prostitutes that were being patronized by men of the Catholic priests. Male prostitutes. Maybe they bring them under the cover of darkness into certain localities, and these priests, they go there. That was sodomy, is that right? Greatly, that's taking place in the system. So that is being proliferated because of the spirit of the end time that forbids the men to marry. And they say they are priests. Is it making sense? But that's what the devil is doing. And that's what the devil is doing greatly. Okay? So these things have to be really, really exposed. So when you see all of this is just charade. Charade. How many times we heard that some nuns, they discover in their septic tank aborted fetus Did you hear of that? Nuns in their nunneries, where you have Reverend Sister, Mother Superior, and things like that. It was supposed to be a place for only women. We know sometimes some of the priests, they come, the male priests come to do Spiritus Dominus and some prayers upon them, but we didn't know they come in the wee hours of the night. Facilitated by Mother Superior. And many of the Reverend Sisters were impregnated. And to cover everything, they did abortion and flushed them to the septic tank. And they discovered those things there, the remnants in the septic tank. What is causing all of these things? You want to appear holy. Is that right? But what's the job of Vatican Council to remove that charade? Expose her for who she is. This is why the reform is happening. So they are trying to reform. Francis came. This one will continue. If another one comes, it will continue. That veil must go. So we read in Revelation 17 that this woman was seated upon the beast. He said, he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and what? 10 horns. This was the way the beast was also described in Revelation 13. 7 heads and 10 horns. We saw that the dragon was described that same way. Is that right? In some cases, you saw that the heads had crowns. In some cases, the horns had crowns. Is that right? Those things depict different things that we're going to look at. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet cloth, speaking of royalty, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of what? Abominations and filthiness of her what? Fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. Who are the harlots? All the denominations. All the denominations that the mother gave birth to. She was a prostitute. Her daughters are also what? Harlots. And Brother Branham said when those daughters discovered that they had the same nature as their mother, they saw no reason to be away from mother. That was why they began to come back. You are shouting against mother, but you discover you are the same. The same. Is it not true? Even the Pentecostal church is the same. The same way the Catholic Church was seeping any way to get money from the people, that's how the Pentecostal Church is also doing. The same character. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints. Of course, that was almost 68 million Protestants that were killed. Even admitted by the Catholic Church. And with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. It's not talking about those that the beast killed. What the woman, people that the woman killed. Remember, when the woman began to ride the beast, that's when it changed from what? Pagan Rome to what? Papa Rome. Pagan was when the emperors were ruling. Papal was when the woman began to what? Ride the beast. And we said this change was when the barbarians, is that right? The barbarians defeated the emperors. And then we saw the transition, how the woman took over. So he said, and I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, wherefore did thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and the what? The 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the what? The bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell upon the earth shall what? Shall wonder, whose names were not written. We are not wondering, eh? Because those who wonder, those who are deceived, they will wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, yet is. Is it not the same case today? the beast appear as if it is not, but she is. There are many people, if you told them that we're seeing the Roman Empire, they can never believe you. If you told them we are seeing the Roman Empire, they can never believe you. They'll tell you how. Huh? Look at even Italy. They look very subservient, as if they cannot even fight a war. Then you tell us that one small city in Italy is still the one controlling. They just cannot believe you. Because the beast was, are you saying that? And is not, yet is. So the Roman Empire was. Is that right? Is not, yet it is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are what? 7 mountains on which the woman seated, which is Rome, surrounded by what? 7 mountains. We are not saying Rome is the only place surrounded by 7 mountains, but we are saying that where this woman is surrounded by, in a city surrounded by what? 7 mountains. And there are what? 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. Yet, and the 5 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into what? Perdition. So, what is being stated here is that you have 7 kings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me put it this way, so that it will make sense to us. Don't worry, I will just write and then we'll continue on Friday. So we have 7 of the kings. 2, 3, 4, 5. Then he said the 6th one is. Is that right? The 7th one will continue for a short while. Have you? This guy will be for a short while. Then you will now have the 8th. I say, and the 8th is the what? The 8th is the beast that was, that eats, and is to what? Is to come. Is that a brief summary of what he said? Huh? Then he said this 8 is of the 7. You know, when I used to read it, I thought it meant that the 8 is of the 7th. He says 7, not 7th. So it can be anyone. Are you listening? He said this 8 is of the 7. Okay. So it doesn't mean it must be this. It doesn't mean it must be. He said of the 7. So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or all of them, but it's not a particular one. Or it's not this particular 7th. Because this one is the 7th. But all of this is the 7. Does it make sense? So he said this 8 is of the 7. Okay? Now let's look at the emperors that were around when John was here. Quickly, I will write, I think maybe on Friday I will put this in on the slide, but let me just write. So we have the following people that were leaders of Rome. The first, let's put Julius. We have Augustus. You have Tiberius. Caligula. Claudius. You have Nero. You have Gaba. Otho. Vitellius. Vesperian. Titus, and Domitian. Now let's stop here. There's a reason we're stopping here. The reason we're stopping with Domitian is that when John the Beloved was writing, Domitian was emperor. Because Domitian was emperor from 81 AD to 96 AD. He was the emperor. Does it make sense? Domitian was the emperor. And he was emperor from 81 to 96 AD. Brother Branham told us that John the Beloved was sent to the Isle of Patmos in 95 AD. Are you with me? So, if we are to follow the prophet, which 95 AD is what many people agree, I don't see any reason not to follow it. But that's what the prophet said. That John the Beloved, I know I've told you that when Brother Branham make a statement after the seals were revealed, be very careful. Be very careful. That statement of the prophet was in your church age book. That John the Beloved was imprisoned on the Isle of Patmos from 95 to 96 AD. It means that John the Beloved was sentenced there by Emperor Domitian. In fact, of all the emperors, he was the most wicked one. Very wicked. In fact, when he died, when they killed him, all the things, he was such a person that what you have, you must give him. All your properties, whatever, you must give him. By the time he left, he used gold and all those things to build very big statue of himself to be worshipped. They melted all of them to make money. That's how much of an emperor he was. Very domineering. So he was emperor from this period to this period. And John was sentenced. Another reason why we believe this was the case, Nero's punishment did not go beyond Rome. Nero was the one that killed a lot of the apostles. It was during the time he was emperor that a lot of them were killed. A lot of Christians were killed. There was a burning in Rome, and he blamed the Christians for it, killed a lot of them. But Domitian's persecution went very far from Rome. Notice that at the time John was in prison, John was the pastor of a church in Ephesus. In fact, Brother Branham said when he was eventually released, he said he went back to continue his pastoralship of the church in Ephesus. So it's just like you have a pastor, they arrested him. Then when they freed him, now went back until he died in about 100 AD. He was the one that lived the longest. He was about 90-something years, about 90 to 90-something years when he died, in 100 AD. So it means that by the time he was released, he spent just about 4 years before he eventually died. So if that is the case, it means that when John the Beloved says here that one is, it must be referring to Domitian. But then how do we do the calculation? Notice, Julius was not emperor, so we remove him. He was not emperor. He tried to be an emperor, and they killed him. So it means that if we now count from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see why Nero cannot be the one? Because Nero is number 5. We need the very person that is to be number 6. Are you getting what I'm saying? So if we don't use Julius, we start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now something happened. After Nero, we now add these 4. They were rulers within 1 year. All of them. One came, committed suicide, one came, killed himself or whatever. Or they was killed. They ruled within 1 year. Are you listening? Then, Vespasian continued. Vespasian is the father of Titus and Domitian. Remember Titus? The one, when Vespasian was leader, he sent his son Titus, the elder one, to go and besiege Jerusalem in 70 AD and disperse them. Later on, when his father died, he became emperor. He stayed for a very short while. His rulership was not long. And then when he died, his brother Domitian now took over. Are you getting the point? He now took over. So when you calculate this and see that these ones, they were short-lived, then you now start from here. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. 5 are fallen. This one is. Are you with me? This is how you do it, because you must do it from John's time. You don't use them to determine John's time. You use John to determine them. Many of those who are saying that John was imprisoned here, you know their reason? When they read the book of Revelation, they don't read Revelation as a book that is happening in our day. They believe that those things John wrote, because the Bible said these things must shortly come to pass. They believe that they were fulfilled immediately. So that is why they put John, they put the revelation in Nero's time. Do you get what I'm saying? But that is not the case. The revelation was given here, because that's what Brother Branham told us in 95 AD. Do you understand? Now notice another thing. There is another reason why Domitian is number 6. Because if we started from here, Domitian would be number 11 if you started. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Are you seeing something? Now, Domitian will be 11. This also shows you the 10 kings. Do you see that? It also shows you the 10 kings. It now shows the 11th one, which is a little horn that came out from the 10 kings, and caused a lot of persecution. Because like I told you, he was the most wicked of all of them. Very, very wicked Domitian. So if we looked at Daniel chapter 7, where the Bible spoke about 10 horns, and then a little horn came from amongst them, was Domitian. Because he was the 11th horn, if you are looking at the 10 horns. Then if you are looking at the 5 kings that are fallen, he also is the one that was present, the 6th one. So he served 2 purposes here. He's the 11th horn of these 10 emperors. Then he's also the one that followed after the falling of 5 kings. 5 emperors. Nero does not fulfill that because it was 4 emperors before him. Does it make sense? So Nero cannot fulfill that because it was 4 emperors that fell before him. The one that fulfilled that is Domitian. 5 emperors fell before him, and he also fulfills the 11th horn that caused a great persecution. Now notice something. Who is the person after Domitian? Do we have it before we close? Was it Never or something? Never was the one, and Never stayed for a short while. Is that right? Never was the one that followed. He stayed for a short while. So now, you don't expect that John will start to name all the other about 60 to 70 rulers that existed before the papacy. What John is trying to say is that, notice something. The reason why John shows this, I'm showing you. Notice the 11th. Do you get the point? Notice also that he is the one that was there when John was on the Isle of Patmos. And then after him, he said the one that followed we do for a short while, which we saw. Then he said the 8th is not any emperor. The 8th is that beast, which was and is not, yet is. He said, but is of the 7. If we notice that that beast continue with persecution, it means that the 7 that he is of is what? Domitian. Because Domitian was the most fierce in terms of the persecution of the believers. He was the fiercest. So it means that the beast that was and is not, yet is, the 7 that is of is what? Domitian. Does it make sense? There's a way we count this. There's a way this is counted. You don't even consider these guys up to Domitian. You don't even consider them up to Domitian. You just say after Nero, you have Domitian. The reason I'm saying so because these 4, they stayed within a short time. So sometimes they're not even concerned. They were knocked off quickly. 3 of them, 1, 2, 3 were knocked off. They were ons that were knocked off. They left the scene. The one that stayed of these 4 was Vesperian. Vesperian started from 69 AD, continued for a while, for a long time, before his son Titus took over. But you group them as being under 1 year. Then if you look at Vespasian up to Domitian, they call it the Flavian dynasty. Because all of them were Flavian. This one is Flavian, his son is Flavian, his second son is also what? Flavian. So they are the Flavian dynasty. So that when you are looking at the beginning of the Roman emperors, from number 1 to number 5 is the first dynasty. Then from number 6 to number 11 is the second dynasty. So they group all of these people as under the Flavian, or they don't call them Flavian, they call them the second dynasty. Because 1, 2, 3, we didn't even know much of what they did, because within short while they were gone. You have one was gone, was gone, was gone. So they counted all of them as the second dynasty. So that Domitian is the 6th emperor of the second dynasty. I am just giving you many reasons. Don't worry, we'll do. I know you are getting confused. Don't worry, we're going to do this deeper. But I'm giving you a reason why it has to be Domitian. It has to be Domitian. He has to be the one. I'm showing you is the 11th emperor, showing that is 11th on. Then, before him, 3 horns were knocked off, like Daniel said. Are you seeing that? Then, he came. He became the fiercest. The one that, in fact, if you are talking about the fierceness of Rome as it is, the reference is always Domitian. Domitian, because the character of the empire is his character. In fact, most people tell you that that Domitian was Nero reincarnated. Does it make sense? So now we've talked about 10 kings, from Augustus up to Titus. Then Domitian is the 11th that came up after 3 of those kings were knocked off in quick succession, as Daniel said. And then if we went down to Revelation 17, you will now see where the Bible begins to tell us about 10 kings again in the 20th century. Because they always show up again. 10 kings will come up again in the 20th century that will reign 1 hour with the Pope. So the Lord helping us. We spoke about that on Sunday, but we're going to look into more details. Let us rise up on our feet. The 7 heads and the 10 horns under Mystery Babylon. So these are the things that produce Mystery Babylon. 7 heads, 10 horns that produce Mystery Babylon. I think the Lord helping us on Friday, we can be able to do pictorial display of these things so that we'll look at the years that they reigned. Then we'll look at the various scriptures that give credence to how we have placed them. Brother Branham said we're in the end. I don't know how much of the end you can see around you, but the prophet said we're in the end. We're in the end. Every day it is getting clearer to us by way of teaching. By way of teaching, it is getting clearer and clearer and clearer. Revelation bets revelation. If we don't know the past, we cannot know the present, because the past leads to the present. If we don't know the present, we cannot know the future, because the present leads to the future. You cannot know exactly where you are. A purposeful human being is somebody who is living his life and is driven by purpose. He's not waking up to eat bread and tea just to be alive. He's alive because a purpose is driving him. He has a date with a purpose-driven destiny. And that is what powers him every day. That's what powers him. And that's something God has done for us as his bride. We have a purpose. We look forward to our shared destiny. We know where we're coming from. We know where we are. We know where we are headed to. We're not bamboozled by what is happening. At the time, somebody said, oh, Hillary, a woman will become president. Many of them had not repented when they started talking about Kamala. When she became vice president, they said, oh, that's the fulfillment. And throughout her vice presidency, I don't know anything of consequence that she achieved. But people celebrated it. We can see the prophet talking about an historical figure and showing us the consequence of his emergence. It's not to fill time. There is a consequence. There is a consequence. Their emergence is consequential, dispensational. Not just that they just came and just occupied somewhere and left, and then we are shouting. We are celebrating. What's the consequence? What does he achieve? What does he move? How is it felt? Now, last year they kept shouting that Kamala will be president. All the odds were in her favor until our opponent emerged and they got quiet. Many did not repent. Now, American Pope. The funny thing is that they never even shouted about it because many of them became very careful. No American had ever been Pope. And when one came out of the conclave, they started shouting again. The same people that celebrated that 1954 prophecy has been fulfilled when Francis was Pope. Even though they were told that Francis is not from the United States, they say, oh, he's American. When will the confusion stop? When will they stop tossing about their congregation? Stability is required in a time of great delusion. And only God's word brings stability. The importance of revelation cannot be overemphasized. We need it more now than ever. And we're thankful that we have it. How great is our God? How great is his word? He's the greatest one that ever was I. He rolled back the waters of the mighty Red Sea, and he said, I will lead you. Put your trust in me. How great is our God? How great is his word? He's the greatest one that ever was I. He rolled back the waters from the mighty Red Sea, and they said, I will lead you. Put your trust in me. As we think on these things, we call our beloved brother Worry to close us with a word of prayer.